Let's be real here. Society has raised this question. Do you have what it takes to homeschool? In order to raise up doubt in you that you are not good enough or you're not cut out for this. You know that this is totally offside, and yet that doubt still creeps in, and here you are clicking on this video. Here is the truth that you need to know. You are good enough. Your self-worth is not dependent on being an encyclopedia of knowledge. It is not your role to do the learning for them. Your child can learn from you even if you do not already personally know the content. Instead of focusing your efforts on what you don't know or what you are not capable of, instead, focus in on what you bring to the table as their mom. Here are my 3 top ways that you can show up better as their homeschooling teacher mom with the confidence to know that you do have what it takes to homeschool. My name is Natalie Burns, and I am making you this video because I care about empowering homeschooling moms to teach their children critical thinking skills without sacrificing time away from the subject areas so you can see your child take initiative for their learning. My whole philosophy is around teaching children how to think so that they can have the freedom to discover who they are and personally learn for themselves. As moms, we need to make this transition from completely dependent. Think infant in your arms that requires everything from you, to telling them what to do and how to do it, to now you're looking at your older child who is developing this independence and wants to have this freedom. And how can you as a homeschooling mom teach them from that angle now, where they get to spread their wings and fly? Because this is so much more than, can they do their own laundry when they move out? This is more along the lines of, can they observe what's going on around them, take in that information, think about it, question it, process it, and then communicate their ideas and their creative thoughts in a way that others can understand. You have what it takes to educate and prepare them for this future. All it takes is a willingness to participate in their education and come alongside them for the process. All right, are you ready for those top 3 ways that you can show up confidently knowing that you have what it takes? Well, number 1 is to tap into your intuition. You know your child best, and you can adapt things for their learning style. And this is really important because, yes, we want our children to learn from all sorts of different ways and different styles, but when that information is challenging them, it can be a lot better of an experience when they are able to tap into that in the way that they think most naturally. And you have the hidden insight into what that means for them. They may not even understand for themselves. Even if you have purchased some top-notch curriculum, do not be afraid to adapt those resources so that they work better for your child. Like, let's take the example of history here for a second. Let's say your child read a chapter about some historical era and they're just not connecting. So then maybe you go and buy a living book on the topic and they're still not connecting. So you go ahead and find a documentary all about it and they still are missing the point. They just aren't understanding. And then you have the idea to go to a historical museum and explore this experientially and kinesthetically, where they can touch and feel it. That's where they can finally connect and explain to you in their own words what they learned. Why did it take so long for your child to finally understand? Because they needed this more difficult concept articulated in a way that they tend to naturally process information. Use your intuition to tap into what your child's learning style is. And if you have that twang, that twinge, that something's not right, they're just not getting it, and you know that you can do things differently and you're not really quite sure what that looks like, let me know and I'd be so happy to come alongside you and find that for your personal situation. The second way to tap into really knowing with confidence that you have what it takes is to observe the generational patterns of thinking in your family. You know how your child is triggered by these challenging situations. And let's be real, learning something new is challenging. And you know exactly when that button has been pushed. And probably you really relate to this because you have the same buttons. And when that button is pushed for your child, you feel that with them, and you then enter that stress response with them because these are patterns that they picked up most likely from you or their dad. Here's the key. If you can remain neutral in this situation where they're getting frustrated by being challenged, or they are just not getting how to multiply decimals, then now you can come alongside them from an observer, from a facilitator that supports them, rather than entering into that stress response with them. This piece here is what I believe is the most difficult as a homeschooling mom. And if you can learn how to stop that button from being pushed in yourself, you will be able to show up so much better for your child. Would you like an example of what this has looked like in my life? Well, my son loves to move around while learning. And I grew up in a classroom setting. And then I was a teacher teaching high school sciences. So this whole sit down and listen paradigm ran really strong in me. So when he did not want to sit down and listen and do his workbooks quietly, I was thinking, well, that's what learning means. I have to break that belief system around this is what learning has to look like. This is what learning has to mean. And allow this openness, this deconstructing of these ideas to create new belief systems around what this can look like for our family. And now that I was able to stop that trigger in myself, that this is not good enough, this isn't right, this isn't the way it's supposed to go, now I can with ease allow him to roll around on the floor while he's learning, and it works well for both of us. The third way that you can raise that confidence that you have what it takes to homeschool is to let go of that which you are not responsible for. Let's be clear here. You are responsible for ensuring a quality, top-notch education for your child, and you are the curator of their learning experience. And you are not responsible for actually making that learning happen inside of their own mind. When I say curator, what I mean is whether you are fully teaching them everything yourself, or whether you're sending them to the classroom for everything to be taught to them, or whether you're somewhere in the middle and outsourcing things here and there, you are responsible for creating and setting up that educational experience for them so that they can learn. You are not responsible for actually clicking in and understanding that content on their behalf. This is a huge load off because now there is no pressure that they need to learn something at a particular time, because that's not what this is about. This is about teaching them how to process information and how to think so that they can learn anything they need to at any point in time. So even if you forget about teaching them how to multiply decimals, they can now come back to that at any point when they are ready or when it is a need for them, and they can learn that confidently knowing that they know how to think about it. Let's take reading here as a super popular example. The range of what is normal for a child to start reading is between age 4 and age 9. That is a huge range. So if you are putting pressure on yourself that your child needs to know how to read by the end of kindergarten, that might be an inappropriate kind of pressure to be putting on yourself. What you can do is set up the environment for them to connect and click into that learning for themselves. Do this by going over phonics flashcards with them each day, or listening to phonics songs. This is something that you have the responsibility for, not the actual learning part. When you teach your child the skills to think and learn for himself, now he is going to be able to process and think about any information that comes his way at any point in time. If you would like more information about how to teach your child to take more responsibility for themselves, to have that autonomy, take initiative for their learning, then you may want to check out my new free guide, the ultimate guide to teaching your homeschooler critical thinking. You can grab that at homeschoolteachingsimplified.com/ultimate-guide or click the link in the description box below. I would love to come alongside you and support you to see your child take more initiative for their learning.